The Clear Skies facility, hidden deep in the Rocky Mountains, was experiencing an ordinary Tuesday morning until their radio telescopes picked up something extraordinary. The usual background noise of space suddenly changed into a clear, structured signal that made every scientist in the room stop and stare at their screens. Tom Baker, the lead communications expert, nearly spilled his coffee as he rushed to verify the signal. His hand shook as he called the facility director. "Sir, you need to see this. Now." Director Richard White arrived within minutes, his gray hair disheveled as if he'd run all the way from his office. The room was silent except for the steady beeping of the incoming transmission. "Show me," he ordered. The signal displayed on the main screen was unlike anything they'd seen before. It wasn't random, and it definitely wasn't from Earth. As they watched, the signal began to transform itself into recognizable patterns. First, mathematical sequences, then simple pictures, and finally, English text. "They're translating their message in real time," Tom whispered, his eyes wide with amazement. "They're learning our language just by scanning our broadcasts." The message was simple. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the representatives of the Galactic Federation. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations." Within hours, similar reports came in from other observation stations around the world. The aliens weren't just broadcasting. They had ships in orbit, visible through even modest telescopes. The world's governments scrambled to respond. And for once, they agreed on something. This needed a unified approach. A week later, the first meeting took place in neutral territory, a specially constructed facility in Switzerland. The alien representatives looked almost human, except for their silvery skin and slightly larger eyes. They called themselves the Guardians, and they spoke perfect English. The lead alien, who used the simple name Alex, explained their purpose. "We have watched your species develop for some time. You have reached a level where you are ready to join the greater galactic community. We offer friendship, technology, and protection." The human delegation, led by Ambassador Robert Hall, listened carefully as Alex outlined the benefits of joining the Federation. Clean energy technology, advanced medical knowledge, faster than light travel. It seemed too good to be true. "What's the catch?" Robert asked, voicing the question on everyone's mind. Alex smiled, a gesture they had clearly practiced. "We only ask that you accept our guidance and allow us to evaluate your species' capabilities. This is standard procedure for all new members." The evaluation began the next day. The aliens set up testing facilities around the globe, measuring human strength, speed, and intelligence. Their expressions remained neutral, but their notes told a different story. Humans were being marked as physically inferior and technologically primitive. In one test, a human athlete was pitted against what they called a basic alien fitness machine. The machine easily outperformed the human in every strength test. The aliens nodded, made notes, and moved on, never noticing how the athlete barely broke a sweat or how quickly he recovered. Military leaders watching the tests began to notice something odd. The aliens weren't testing for endurance. They ignored how humans could keep going long after other species would have quit. They didn't seem to understand the significance of human adaptability or our ability to think creatively in crisis situations. General Mark Thompson watched from behind a two-way mirror as another test concluded. He turned to his colleague, Dr. Lisa Ward, and spoke quietly. "They're underestimating us." Lisa nodded, her eyes sharp with understanding. "Should we correct their misconceptions?" Mark shook his head slowly, a small smile forming on his face. "No, let them think what they want. Something tells me we might need this advantage someday." As the first month of testing drew to a close, the aliens seemed satisfied with their initial assessment. Earth was officially classified as a Class 3 species, capable of joining the Federation, but requiring significant guidance and protection. The humans signed the membership treaties, accepted the technology offered, and began their integration into galactic society. But in secure facilities around the world, military and scientific leaders began quietly documenting everything the aliens had failed to notice about humanity's true capabilities. They just hoped they'd never need to use this information. But if they did, the aliens would be in for quite a surprise. 6 months into Earth's membership in the Galactic Federation, the effects of being classified as a Class 3 species became painfully clear. The human delegation sat through another condescending briefing at the Federation's headquarters on Mars, watching as their access to advanced technology was once again restricted. "For your own safety," explained the Federation representative, Alex, "Class 3 species are not permitted to operate high-grade defensive systems or advanced propulsion technology without supervision." Ambassador Robert Hall kept his face carefully neutral, though his knuckles were white as he gripped his datapad. Beside him, General Mark Thompson watched the aliens' presentation with narrowed eyes. The classification system was simple. Class 1 species were the elite, like the Guardians themselves. Class 2 species were considered capable but still developing. Class 3 species, where humans had been placed, were seen as primitive but promising. Below that were Class 4 and 5, species deemed too volatile or underdeveloped for meaningful contact. Back on Earth, in the underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Lisa Ward reviewed the latest batch of test results. Her team had been secretly documenting human capabilities that the aliens had overlooked or ignored. "Look at this," she said to her colleague, showing him footage from their latest endurance trial. "Our test subject just ran for 6 hours straight in high-temperature conditions. The Federation's physical assessment protocols don't even have tests lasting more than 30 minutes. The data was fascinating. Humans could regulate their temperature better than most species, heal from injuries at remarkable rates, and operate effectively with minimal sleep for extended periods. None of these abilities appeared impressive in short demonstrations, but they gave humanity significant advantages in prolonged situations." In another secure facility, this one beneath the Pacific Ocean, military analysts studied Federation combat footage. The aliens relied heavily on overwhelming force and advanced technology. Their battles were typically short, decisive engagements. They had no concept of guerrilla warfare, endurance fighting, or adaptive tactics. "They think in straight lines," observed Colonel Jack Wilson, watching a recording of a Federation training exercise. "Their technology is incredible, but their strategies are predictable. They've never had to fight dirty." The Federation's assessment of Earth's military capabilities had been particularly dismissive. Human weapons were considered primitive, human soldiers too weak, human ships too slow. But they had never tested how long a human soldier could fight without rest, or how quickly humans could adapt to new battle conditions. In orbit, aboard the Federation's monitoring station, 2 Guardian scientists discussed their latest findings about Earth. "Such a shame about their physical limitations," said the first. "Their gravity-heavy world has made them sturdy but slow. They'll never be suitable for advanced combat roles." "At least they're good at following instructions," replied the second. "They've accepted their classification without complaint. That's rare for a Class 3 species." They never noticed the small smile on the face of the human technician cleaning the nearby console, who later reported the conversation to General Thompson. The general sat in his office, reviewing reports from various hidden research sites around the world. Humanity was playing a dangerous game, deliberately underperforming in Federation tests, while secretly documenting their true capabilities. But with each passing day, the wisdom of this strategy became clearer. The Federation's technology was amazing, but their arrogance was their weakness. They saw what they expected to see: a primitive species struggling to catch up. They didn't look deeper. "Send word to all sites," he typed into his secure terminal. "Continue current protocols. Document everything. Let them think they know us." As he finished typing, an alert flashed across his screen. Federation ships were mobilizing at the edge of their territory. Something was happening out there in the darkness of space. The general smiled grimly. Humanity had hoped they'd never need to reveal their true capabilities, but something told him that day might come sooner than expected. When it did, the Federation would learn that they should have looked more carefully at the species they'd so casually dismissed as Class 3. Sometimes, the most dangerous opponent is the one you've underestimated. The hidden research facility beneath Antarctica hummed with activity as Dr. Lisa Ward reviewed the latest test results. Her team had spent months documenting human capabilities that the Federation overlooked, and the findings were remarkable. "Play the comparison footage," she ordered. The main screen split into two sections. On the left, a Federation strength test showing a human failing to match an alien lifting machine. On the right, the same human performing a 24-hour endurance challenge that would have exhausted most Federation species in 2 hours. "They're measuring the wrong things," she muttered, adding notes to her tablet. "They test peak strength, but ignore stamina. They measure sprint speed, but never test how long we can run." General Thompson entered the room, stamping snow from his boots. "How's the documentation going?" Lisa pulled up another set of results. "Better than expected. We've confirmed several unique advantages. Humans can process new information faster than any Class 2 species. We adapt to changing situations more quickly than even the Guardians." The screen showed footage from various test sites around the world. Humans learning to operate alien technology through trial and error, solving problems in ways the Federation never considered, finding shortcuts and improvements the aliens had missed. "Look at this," Lisa pointed to a particular test. The Federation uses standardized problem-solving tests. They expect everyone to follow the same logical steps. But humans, we think differently. We make intuitive leaps. We try crazy ideas that sometimes work better than the correct solution. In another section of the facility, Colonel Jack Wilson was running combat simulations. His team had been studying Federation military doctrine, finding gaps in their strategies. "They rely too heavily on technology," he explained to a group of officers. "They expect battles to end quickly. They have no concept of fighting through exhaustion. No plans for what happens when their fancy weapons fail." The simulation showed a Federation combat unit against human guerrilla tactics. The aliens' superior technology gave them an early advantage, but they couldn't maintain their effectiveness over time. They had no strategies for dealing with an enemy that refused to give up, that kept fighting even when outgunned. Meanwhile, in orbit, the Federation continued their regular assessments of Earth. Their latest report was typically dismissive. Human physical capabilities remain within Class 3 parameters. No significant improvements noted. Continue limited technology access protocols. Back in the Antarctic facility, General Thompson reviewed the growing database of humanity's hidden strengths. "They think they know us," he said, shaking his head. "They see what they expect to see. A primitive species trying to catch up. They don't look deeper." Dr. Ward pulled up another file. "We've confirmed that humans have superior regenerative abilities compared to most Federation species. We heal faster, adapt to injuries better. We can function despite pain that would incapacitate others." The screen showed medical data comparing human and alien recovery rates. The Federation's medical technology was impressive, but they had never fully studied human natural healing abilities. "And there's more," Lisa continued. "Our emotional responses, which they consider primitive, actually give us advantages. We can push through fear, fight harder when protecting others, keep going through conditions that their psychological models say should break us." General Thompson nodded slowly. "Keep documenting everything. Every advantage, every unique capability. If we ever need to defend ourselves, we'll need every edge we can get." As if on cue, his communication device buzzed. The Federation fleet mobilization at the outer territories had increased. Reports suggested they were facing some kind of threat, though details were classified above Earth's security clearance. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "do you think we'll need to reveal what we really can do?" The general looked at the screen, where another human test subject was outblasting alien endurance parameters. "I hope not. But if we do," he smiled grimly, they'll learn that their classification system needs some serious revision. In orbit, the Federation's monitoring stations continued their routine observations of Earth, their sensors recording only what they were programmed to see, missing entirely the quiet preparation happening beneath the surface of this primitive world. Sometimes, the greatest strength lies in being underestimated, and humanity was very, very strong indeed. The Federation's emergency alert system blared through every human monitoring station. Reports flooded in from the outer territories. A hostile species, previously unknown, had launched devastating attacks against multiple Federation colonies. In the Rocky Mountain facility, General Thompson watched the grainy footage of the attacks. The enemy's ships were unlike anything in Federation records, biological-looking vessels that seemed to heal from damage. The Federation's standard tactics were failing against this new threat. "They're calling them the Swarm," Ambassador Robert Hall explained during an emergency briefing. "The Federation's Class 1 and Class 2 combat units are engaging them. But," he paused, his face grim, "they're losing." The footage showed Federation ships, with all their advanced technology, being overwhelmed. The Swarm fought differently. They didn't follow standard combat protocols, didn't retreat when they should, and seemed to learn from each defeat. "Sounds familiar," muttered Colonel Wilson, watching the tactical displays. The Swarm's fighting style reminded him eerily of human guerrilla warfare, adaptable, relentless, willing to take losses to achieve objectives. In orbit, the Federation's representatives maintained their usual condescending attitude toward Earth. "This conflict is beyond your classification level," Alex explained to the human delegation. "Class 3 species are to maintain their normal activities. We will handle this threat." But the Federation wasn't handling it. Each day brought news of another lost colony, another defeated fleet. The Swarm was advancing steadily toward the Federation's core worlds. In the Antarctic facility, Dr. Lisa Ward compiled a report that would never be sent to the Federation. The Swarm's biological ships show similar adaptability to human immune systems, she explained to General Thompson. They learn from each encounter, evolve new defenses. The Federation's rigid tactical doctrine can't counter this. The general nodded grimly. They're fighting a war of attrition, and they don't even know it. The Federation expects quick, decisive victories. They're not prepared for an enemy that gets stronger with each defeat. Earth's hidden military preparations accelerated. Under the guise of civilian defense drills, humanity quietly readied itself for combat. They modified the limited technology they'd been given, finding ways to improve it that the Federation had never considered. "Sir," Colonel Wilson reported, "our simulations show that human tactics would be effective against the Swarm. We think differently than the Federation. We understand adaptive warfare. But Earth's offers of military assistance were politely rejected. Your species lacks the necessary combat capabilities." The Federation insisted. "Please focus on your designated development programs." Then came the news they'd been dreading. The Swarm had broken through the Federation's outer defense line. They were now in Earth's sector. In the Rocky Mountain Facilities Command Center, General Thompson received the latest update. 3 Federation colony worlds had fallen in the past week. The defensive line was collapsing. "How long until they reach Earth?" he asked. "At their current pace," Colonel Wilson replied, 2 weeks, maybe less." The general stood at the window, looking out at the mountain range. Humanity had hoped to keep their true capabilities hidden longer, to avoid drawing attention. But now they faced a choice: reveal their strength or watch their world fall. He turned to his staff. "Initiate Protocol Omega. It's time to show the Federation what a Class 3 species can really do." Across the planet, hidden facilities burst into action. Weapons and ships that had been secretly modified and improved were brought online. Combat units that had trained in secret prepared for deployment. In orbit, the Federation's monitoring stations detected increased activity on Earth, but dismissed it as panic over the approaching threat. Their assessment protocols had no categories for measuring the quiet determination of a species that had spent its entire history fighting, adapting and surviving. The swarm was coming, and behind them, the Federation's mighty fleets lay broken and defeated. But they were about to encounter something they hadn't faced before, a species that had made an art form of being underestimated. Humanity was ready for war, and war was something humans understood very, very well. The swarm arrived faster than anyone expected. Their biological ships darkened Earth's skies, their strange organic shapes blocking out the sun. The Federation's remaining defense fleet arrived just hours ahead of them, taking up positions around Earth with grim determination. "Maintain your designated safety protocols," the Federation commander transmitted to Earth. "We will handle this threat." In the Rocky Mountain Command Center, General Thompson watched the Federation ships move into their standard combat formation. "They're still fighting by the book," he muttered. "Still haven't learned." The first wave of swarm ships hit the Federation line like a tsunami. The battle unfolded exactly as human analysts had predicted, the Federation's superior technology giving them early advantages, but their rigid tactics leaving them vulnerable to the swarm's adaptive strategies. "Now," General Thompson ordered as he watched the Federation line begin to buckle, "show them what humanity can do." Across the planet, hidden launch facilities opened. Ships rose from underwater bases, mountain bunkers, and desert hideouts. They weren't as advanced as Federation vessels, but they had been modified in ways the aliens had never imagined. The Federation commander's shocked voice came over the communications channel. "Earth vessels, return to surface immediately. You lack the combat certification for this engagement." Instead of responding, the Earth ships demonstrated their capabilities. They moved in irregular patterns the swarm couldn't predict, used their weapons in ways the Federation had never considered. Where Federation ships fought in rigid formations, human vessels fought with controlled chaos. In the Antarctic Command Center, Dr. Lisa Ward monitored the battle data. "The swarm's trying to adapt to our tactics," she reported. "But they can't predict what we'll do next because we're not following any standard combat protocols." The Earth ships took losses, but they kept fighting. When their weapons were damaged, crews made repairs while still under fire. When their shields failed, they used debris as cover. Every time the swarm adapted to one tactic, the humans switched to another. "Impossible," the Federation commander transmitted. "Your endurance levels exceed all recorded parameters for your species classification." Colonel Wilson, commanding Earth's main battle group, allowed himself a grim smile. "You never asked how long we could fight," he responded. "You never tested our limits because you assumed you knew them." The battle raged for hours. Federation ships withdrew to recharge their energy weapons, but the human vessels fought on. The swarm's biological ships, used to overwhelming their enemies quickly, found themselves in an exhausting war of attrition. In orbit, Ambassador Robert Hall watched from the Federation command station as humanity revealed its true nature. "We're not just strong," he told the stunned alien leaders. "We're stubborn, we adapt, and we never, ever give up." The tide turned slowly but surely. The swarm's attempts to adapt were met with constant changes in human tactics. Their biological ships, damaged and unable to heal fast enough, began to retreat. In the Rocky Mountain facility, General Thompson received the battle reports with grim satisfaction. Humanity had taken heavy losses, but they had done what the Federation's elite fleets could not. They had stopped the swarm. As the last enemy ships fled the system, the Federation commander requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. "How?" Alex demanded, his silvery skin pale with shock. "How did you hide these capabilities from our assessments?" Dr. Ward stepped forward. "You tested what you expected to find," she explained. "You never looked for the things that make humans truly dangerous: our adaptability, our endurance, our sheer determination to survive." The Federation representatives looked at the battle data in stunned silence. Every test they had run, every assessment they had made, had missed humanity's true strengths. General Thompson stood at the command center window, watching Earth ships return from battle, many damaged but still fighting capable. Perhaps, he suggested quietly, it's time to revisit that Class 3 classification. The Federation would soon learn that they had made a serious mistake in their assessment of humanity. But for now, Earth's defenders had a more immediate concern. The swarm would be back, and next time, they would be ready for them. At least now everyone knew exactly what humanity could do. 2 days after Earth's successful defense against the swarm, the Federation Council called an emergency session. For the first time, human representatives were invited to participate in high-level military planning. The swarm has retreated to the Orion sector, reported the Federation's military commander. They're regrouping, adapting their strategies based on their defeat here. General Thompson stood before the council, presenting humanity's battle analysis. They'll be back, he stated firmly. But this time, we have an advantage. They've never faced an enemy that survived their first attack. The Federation's war room was filled with holograms showing the swarm's movements. Colonel Wilson pointed to their pattern. They're creatures of habit, even in retreat. They follow predictable paths when they withdraw. We can use that. For the first time, the Federation listened as humans explained their military doctrine. The aliens were particularly interested in concepts they had never considered: guerrilla warfare, adaptive tactics, and the human ability to function effectively even when outgunned and outnumbered. Your ships, Alex observed, studying the battle footage, they're much more effective than their technical specifications suggest. How? Dr. Ward stepped forward. We modify them. Humans have a talent for improving technology in ways their creators never imagined. We find solutions that don't show up in standard engineering protocols. The Federation engineers were stunned when humans showed them how they had modified Federation technology. Simple changes, overlooked by the aliens' rigid thinking, had dramatically improved performance. We need to strike now, General Thompson urged. While they're still recovering from their first defeat, humanity will lead the counterattack. The council chamber erupted in debate. Many members opposed putting a Class 3 species in charge of military operations, but the battle footage from Earth spoke for itself. Finally, the council reached a decision. Humanity would lead a joint task force into swarm territory. Federation ships would provide their advanced technology, while human commanders would direct strategy and tactics. The next week saw an unprecedented cooperation between humans and Federation forces. Human combat instructors taught Federation crews how to fight unpredictably, how to keep fighting when systems failed, how to think creatively in battle. Your way of thinking, admitted a Federation captain during training. It's completely different from anything in our tactical databases. The swarm won't expect this. The Joint Fleet launched its counterattack with Earth ships in the lead. They found the swarm exactly where human analysts had predicted, preparing for another assault. But this time, the battle was different. Federation ships, now fighting with human tactics, broke from their usual formations. They attacked from unexpected angles, retreated only to strike again from different directions, and never gave the swarm time to adapt. Keep pushing, Colonel Wilson commanded as the swarm forces began to fragment. Don't let them regroup. Don't let them adapt. The battle raged across the sector. Federation crews, trained by humans, fought on even when their primary weapons were damaged. They used their ships in ways their designers had never intended, improvising tactics on the fly. In the Federation Command Center, Alex watched in amazement as the swarm's supposedly invincible forces were driven back. We never imagined, he admitted to Ambassador Hall, that a Class 3 species could fight like this. The decisive moment came when the swarm attempted to regroup for a counterattack. Human commanders had predicted this move and laid a trap. The resulting battle was brief but devastating. As the last swarm ships flood into deep space, the Federation fleet erupted in celebration. For the first time, the invincible enemy had been decisively defeated. General Thompson received the victory reports in the Rocky Mountain facility. Send word to all commands, he ordered. The swarm is retreating, but stay alert. This war isn't over. He was right, of course. The swarm would return, stronger and more adapted. But now the Federation had learned perhaps its most important lesson. Never underestimate a species just because they seem primitive by your standards. Sometimes, the most dangerous warriors are the ones you never saw coming. 1 month after the decisive victory over the swarm, the Federation Council convened its most important session in recent history. The Grand Chamber was packed with representatives from every member species, all gathered for a historic announcement. General Thompson stood before the council, still wearing his battle-worn uniform. Beside him, Dr. Ward held a thick data file, the complete documentation of humanity's true capabilities, finally revealed to the galaxy. "The classification system has failed us," declared the council leader. "Our rigid categories and assumptions nearly led to our destruction. If we hadn't underestimated humanity, if we had seen their true potential sooner, perhaps the swarm would never have penetrated so deep into our territory." Alex, now a strong advocate for humanity, presented the reclassification proposal. The holograms displayed human achievements that had been overlooked or dismissed. Their remarkable adaptability, their endless creativity, their ability to function under extreme stress, and their unique talent for improving existing technology. "We thought we were being thorough," Alex admitted, "but we only saw what we expected to see. We never looked deeper, never tested for the qualities that truly matter in a crisis." Dr. Ward stepped forward, activating her presentation. "Humans aren't just fighters," she explained. "We're survivors, innovators, problem solvers. We don't just use technology. We improve it, adapt it, find new ways to make it work." The chamber filled with footage from the war, human ships fighting alongside Federation vessels, Earth's tactics turning the tide of battle, Federation crews learning and adopting human combat strategies. "Our greatest strength," Ambassador Hall added, "was something your tests could never measure. We never give up. We never stop trying to improve, to adapt, to overcome whatever challenges we face." The Council voted unanimously. Earth would be reclassified, but not as a Class II or even Class I species. Instead, they created an entirely new classification, Adaptive Class, for species that demonstrated exceptional ability to innovate and evolve. "This changes everything," the Council leader announced. "Our entire approach to evaluating new species must be reconsidered. We can no longer rely on rigid categories and predetermined tests." In the weeks that followed, humanity's influence spread throughout the Federation. Earth's military advisors helped rebuild the Federation's defense forces, teaching them to think creatively and adapt to changing situations. Human engineers worked with Federation scientists, showing them new ways to improve their technology. Back on Earth, in the Rocky Mountain facility, General Thompson looked at the new Federation classification certificate with a slight smile. "They finally understand," he said to Dr. Ward. "But I wonder if they realize this is just the beginning." Dr. Ward nodded, reviewing the latest research data. "Humans are still adapting, still improving. Every challenge makes us stronger, teaches us something new. The Federation's never dealt with a species quite like us before." The swarm remained a threat, lurking in the distant reaches of space. But now the Federation was better prepared, thanks to humanity's influence. Federation ships patrolled the borders with new confidence, their crews trained in human tactics, ready to adapt to any situation. In orbit, the Federation's monitoring station received a significant upgrade. The new systems, designed with human input, looked for different qualities in emerging species, not just technological advancement, but creativity, adaptability, and determination. "We learned an important lesson," Alex told a group of Federation scientists. "The most valuable allies aren't always the ones with the most advanced technology. Sometimes, they're the ones who never stop trying to improve, who never accept defeat, who see possibilities where others see limitations." As the sun set over the Rocky Mountains, General Thompson stood at his familiar window. The Federation had finally recognized humanity's true strength, but he knew this wasn't the end of the story. Somewhere out there, the swarm was adapting, evolving, preparing for another attempt. But this time, they would face a unified federation, one that had learned to think differently, to adapt and evolve. And at the forefront would be humanity, doing what they did best, facing impossible odds, finding innovative solutions, and never, ever giving up. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never underestimate a species just because they seem primitive. Sometimes, the most powerful force in the universe is the determination to prove everyone wrong.